We can utilize this concept of very, very short delay times with the early reflection section to actually simulate flanging effects. So I've reinitialized my reverb. We got those same drums going. Let's do the same thing here. We're going to turn off the late reverb. I'm going to make sure that my output mix mode is in send and return mode. And I'm going to set the dry wet to about 40%. So I hear the full volume of the dry drums and then a little bit less of the wet signal here. And we're going to create sort of like a parallel flanging effect. Now we will need the help of an Ableton modulator device, or you could also automate the size parameter to get a similar effect if you don't have anything like that, if you're using a different DAW, for example. But let's go ahead and change the early reflection preset to one of these delays. Let's try delay wide. Let's hear what we're working with right now. Turn the level of the early reflections up. Let's bring that size down. Now here's the trick with this. I want to bring the size really low. We're talking like 1 or 2%. And I get this high kind of resonant tone in the sound, right? The trick then is that we're going to take the size and increase it a little bit, and then decrease it a little bit, and kind of move that back and forth. Now we could automate this, but I'm going to use the help of an Ableton modulator called LFO. So if I go into my audio effects here, find the LFO, let's move VELA over for a minute here. We'll put the LFO down here next to it. And the LFO allows us to map any parameter, any slider, knob, fader. And what we'll do is use this sine wave LFO, and we're going to map it to that size slider that we have configured right there. So let me turn it up to about 1%, maybe 2%. We'll hit map. It's going to start blinking, and then I'll click the size slider here. Now this is going pretty far. This is probably going to sound pretty weird. Let's solo the drums. It basically just increases the size. We get this crazy delay, and then it kind of cuts away, right? So we want to have this move a very, very small amount. So not this far in either direction. And that's where this depth control comes into play. So if we bring this down, you'll see that the size of my LFO, or in other words, the distance that it's moving this size dial in either direction, reduces. So let's bring this way down, maybe like 4%. Then we're going to take the rate dial over here. That controls the speed of the LFO. I'm going to click the note button here so it syncs to tempo. Let's make the rate nice and slow, maybe like 4 bars. And then take a listen to what that does. So now we get this gradual change in the size, or in other words, in the delay time, and it's a smooth transition, so we get this kind of flanging effect. This is how a traditional flanger sort of works. It's operating with short delay times, and the delay times are getting modulated. But we can simulate an effect like this by automating, or in this case, modulating that size parameter